Hey everybody, welcome back to the Print 3D channel. Today is July 5th, and that means day 186 of the 3DP 365 project. And on today's episode, we use Fusion360 to convert an SVG graphic into this gMaxSize vase, so stick around. Hey everybody, welcome back, and thank you for joining me here for day 186 of the 3DP 365 project. As always, down in the description there's a fact section. There's also the MatterHackers affiliate link. If you're in the market for some new filament, just use that MatterHackers affiliate link and you really help out the channel. On today's episode, we use Fusion360 to convert an SVG graphic into workable geometry and create this giant gMaxSize vase. And this was a very easy project to do. And I'll show you the walkthrough in a couple minutes here, but first let's talk about the print, because the print turned out awesome. This is a very, very cool model. We used some of that MatterHackers PRO PLA and Translucent Aqua on our gMax 1.5 XT Plus, and we printed this out in vase mode. And this took about 16 hours to print, and we printed this out at 60 millimeters per second. And I created this in Fusion360 using an SVG graphic. And if you don't know what an SVG graphic is, it's a scalable vector graphic. That means at any size, it'll retain its resolution quality. And that's very cool because it's a very portable, small image file size. And we use those to create stuff in Fusion360, and it's a very common practice. And it's very easy to do too. And you can use just about any image, any SVG image you find, and bring it into Fusion360. And already you have sketches available, so you can start doing extrusions and start modeling right from that. So it's a very, very cool method of doing it. And if we head over to Fusion360, I'll show you how I created this really cool gMaxSize Gear Vase. Okay, so here we are in Fusion360, and here is our Gear Vase. And this is a very cool model, and it's 420 millimeters tall. This is a gMaxSized vase. And I used an SVG graphic to create this, like I said. And I also used a sweep to actually create the form and everything. And at the end here, I actually added a fillet to the edges here to soften up those edges so they weren't so sharp. And it's a really easy process. But first I want to show you how I created this. So if we turn off the body and we turn on our 4 sketches, you can see the 4 assets I used to create this really cool gear vase. And here at the bottom, there is our SVG graphic that I imported. Once I had that imported, I created my center rail up here for my height, and that was my guide rail, so I knew exactly how high I wanted to make my spline, and plus it gave me an endpoint to stop at. Then I added my intersect point here, or my project point, or project point, on this intersection here of the gear SVG and the center red line to anchor my spline to. And this is very similar to the Elegant Vase tutorial, which you can watch and see how I created that. Once I had these objects in here, if you go under the Create menu, you can do a sweep. And a sweep is very cool because it's very similar to using a revolve. And in this instance, we use the path plus guide rail. So here we choose our path. First thing we do is select our profile, which is our SVG. Next we select our path. The next thing we select is our guide rail. And then when you hit OK, it'll do the sweep. And if we turn on the bodies, you can see the completed sweep. And that's what we ended up with. And I actually did a little bit of work to create these angles because I was a little concerned about those being able to be printable. But it actually looks really cool, and I really love this look of Gear Vase. And I was trying to replicate what I had originally done in the video with Joel Telling, where I twisted this a little bit. But I'm really not super familiar with all the different functions of Fusion360 yet. But when I saw how this looked, I stopped right there and I said, you know what, I need to print this. This looks very cool. And the process for inserting an SVG graphic and using it as a sketch is really very simple. Let's go to File, New Design. And if you go under the Insert menu and go down to Insert SVG or Scalable Vector Graphic, choose your plane, and then choose your scalable vector, your SVG file, and place it in there. And if it doesn't come in the center, you just have to move it into the center. And from there, you can start doing extrudes and all kinds of modeling. So it's a very simple process to do. And I've done it on a couple of other objects too, and I have a couple other vases that I want to print, but I wanted to show you guys something really fast here. This is another elegant vase that I designed, and I'm debating whether or not to print this or not. So I'm asking you guys, the viewers, if you're watching, should I print this? This looks really cool, and it looks like a very challenging vase print. But I want to know, should I print this? But back to the Gear Vase, this is the design we printed for today. Like I said, this was simply based off an SVG graphic. It's a super simple process, and you can use this to create just about any object in Fusion360. Okay, so you saw my process in Fusion360 for creating this very cool gMaxSize vase, and it's a very simple process. It's actually pretty similar to the way I created the elegant vase, and you can watch that video here. You basically start with a shape, you set your height rail, and then you do your shape or spline or sketch for the shape of the vase that you want. And it's a very simple process. And you can use any SVG graphic as long as they are a true scalable vector graphic. And the way to check it is actually to open it up in Illustrator and make sure. And just don't save the file and just close it. But once you have your SVG graphic in there, you can do just about anything. So you can take just anything you download off the internet or your own graphics that you create in Adobe Illustrator and save them as SVG graphics and import those into Fusion360 and use those to build whatever you want to build for as far as modeling goes. So it's a really handy process. And of course, our vase turned out awesome. I am super happy with the results. This angle I thought was going to be pretty tough to print, but it's actually really smooth. I don't see a lot of defects from possibly layer separations. So the angle is really, really cool. I'm really glad I got that angle right. And I really love this translucent aqua filament. I mean, this stuff really does glow very, very cool. If I put a light in here, this would illuminate the whole room. It's a very cool filament. And I really love this design, and I'll post this up on Thingiverse once this video is done editing and post it up too. So you guys can download and print this yourself. And if you have a gMax printer, this goes to your pretty much almost your maximum build height that I would want to print to, which is 420 millimeters. And I know you can go higher than that, but this seemed like a pretty safe height. And again, we reduced ours down to 90 millimeter or 90% at 385 millimeters, I believe was our final height, just because of print time. But the print itself, it looks awesome, and I'm super happy with the results. And I think this is a very cool process in Fusion360. And I really think you should give it a try because you can create some really cool stuff. Well, that about wraps it up for day 186 of the 3DP 365 project. I hope you guys found this episode interesting and informative. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share those videos, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.